The Big E, and what I've done so far, and not to be too boring, I finished one nacelle. I got it sanded down and primered, so we are good to go on that. I was going to paint it, but I decided I'm going to paint it afterwards, but I decided to get the pylon and then the nacelle attached to the secondary hull. So we got the wires fished through. I got it glued in there with liquid cement, and then I'm going to go back in with some super glue, and I'm going to reinforce the joints in there so it'll be good and strong. So I got one down, and I got to go one more. I got to make sure I got everything sanded smooth on that, which we look like we are, but I need to examine it just a little bit further, and I'll be able to get that hopefully glued together. And my game plan is either today or early next week I'm going to try to get the two halves together, because I want to have to do a little bit of body work, and that's right through here on the back, which is no big deal. I didn't think about it when I did it. The light here, I should have recessed it down a little bit further, and I didn't. I thought I had it cleared, but I don't. There's going to be a little bit of a gap right through here. It's basically going to just bow it out just a little bit. No big deal. I'm just going to put some putty and just putty it, make it one piece. It'll just be a little bit bigger on the end here, I mean, technically, but anyway, that's the only thing I didn't think of when I got the shuttle bay, because when you get the shuttle bay in there, it's really, really tight. But anyway, that's my only little body work that I'm going to have to do on the back. But anyway, that's what I'm trying to do next, is get the nacelles on, and we'll get the body together, and then I want to do my little putty work. And then I'm wiring, I got two long wires here, which we're going to shove through the bottom, through the little hole here that goes to the stand. And then I got two extra wires, wherever I did with those, somewhere in here. The two small ones, which I'm going to run through the neck, and then I'll run the neck and the saucer to that, and then I can put it all together once I get the basic body work done. But anyway, that's where I stand on the Big E. The Wildcat, done and done. I went back in and I painted the tires, painted the landing gear, and did a little bit of weathering. You can see where I've done some of the little chips with some silver paint, just not a whole lot. I try to keep the weathering down, just very minute, you know, nothing fancy. Decals on went really good with a little help of Mr. Microsaw, just to get it over the rivets. Now, there's a question been asked, the big stars on the fuselage here and the ones on the wing, yes, they're supposed to be big on the fuselage, and yes, they're supposed to be small on the wings, and there's actually three different sizes. There's that one, the big one, and then of course the one on the bottom. But anyway, I followed the instructions. That's like decal number 1, 2's on the bottom, that's 3 on the side. So for whatever reason they wanted the big stars on the fuselage, that's the way it is. But anyway, they go on great. A lot of, just about 3 times I had to put Microsaw on there to get it to really sink down, and we are good to go on that. So then after that, I put some matte varnish on there, which is my new favorite flat. I like it. I think it's I think it flattens it out really nice, and you can manipulate this. You can add more water, you know, to really make it not too flat. You know, you can make it semi-flat, you know, just with a little bit of water and the airbrush and the distance and everything. It's just just a great finish you can use. So big fan of that, and that's what I use to flatten out the decals and the overall model. So the Wildcat's done. I'm going to go wrap that up today because it had a chance to dry overnight, and I'm going to wrap that up and get it to its owner tomorrow. So anyway, Wildcat is done. The Convair. One thing I had to do is I had to go to the hobby store and get some brass tubing, and I had to buy the 3-foot one. They didn't have the little 2-pack one, which is cheaper to buy the 2-pack than it is the 3-foot version. But anyway, that's the only one they had, and that's the size I needed. So I whacked it, and I really didn't measure anything. I just kind of eyeballed it from the original one. Here is the original one. It comes in 2 pieces, and it's all right. but I think that's the weakest point. I don't think it would sag. I think it would, well, it might. So anyway, I didn't want it to. I wanted to brass rod it. And I did some telescoping ones. I got a smaller diameter and stuck inside on both the ends, about that much longer. 5-minute epoxied them, and we are good to go on that. So we're good and strong. I got to do one little putty work, and that's on the front here. You can see where the little crack is. That's from I didn't cut out the hole here for the LED. I should have, but I was I already had it cut and I had it glued, and I was trying to do everything all at one time, and it just didn't work out. But anyway, I'm gonna get that filled and ready to go. One thing about the pole here is it does have panel lines. And the brass rod doesn't, and I ain't going to scribe anything. If I do, if I do anything, I'll probably take a pencil and just do panel lines like that. It'll just be easier that way. My next thing on this I got to do is I got to sand just a tad, just a little bit on the sides here. It's actually very, very. I mean, it's an excellent fit. There's really no seam to speak of. You can feel it just a little bit. Just need to sand it down just to knock it off. And be able to hopefully get that assembled, hopefully by either today or tomorrow. But anyway, I got to do some sanding. And then it's got this little, I call it little dish on the front. I won't put that on last because I'm afraid if I put that on anytime soon, I'm going to break it off. So that'll be last before I paint it. So anyway, because I want to get it on a stand, and I want to put it on a new base because I like the round tube bases. I do like the Mobius base, but I want to do something just a tad bit more fancier than that. And we'll discuss that later. But anyway, that's what I've got going on today. We finished up the Wildcat. We are working on the Convair, and the Big E is getting somewhat assembled. So that's what we got going on today. So stay tuned for the next exciting episode.